If you're showing it in your house or for a bigger group, you can go to 1946themovie.com and you can stream it from there. You also can go to Amazon, and from there you can stream it, and you get, I think it's 48 hours or more, and you also can purchase it. So if you wanted to own it and watch it over and over again, share it with your other friends, then please go ahead there and you can do that. So you can see on the screen we have Ed Oxford. Hi, we can see you. Hopefully you can see us too. A little bit information about Ed. Ed Oxford graduated from Green High School, then went to Miami University in Oxford, Ohio. He joined the staff of Campus Crusade for Christ, serving in Illinois and then Tokyo, Japan. After returning to California, he obtained his MDiv from Talbot Seminary, Biola, and worked on the pastoral staff at an Asian American church in Gardena, California. Ed left this position to work in the finance industry, hoping to earn enough money to afford reparative therapy. After years of depression and never finding a way to change his sexual orientation, he went to a Kathy Baldock seminar in 2016 and learned that the word homosexual was not in the Bible until 1946. With a fervent desire to learn how this happened, he started on a journey of intense research. In 2017, he located Bible translation notes in the archives of Yale, and with Kathy, made a discovery which led to the 1946 documentary. Let's give Ed a warm welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here, you guys, and to be amongst people from Green. We've got great memories. I was there in January. You guys didn't have the weather very warm for me when I was there, but it was a great time. And I grew up there. And so a lot of memories from my education there at Green. Started in first grade and then graduated and went to school at Miami, Ohio, not in Oxford, Ohio, in Cincinnati. But I'm grateful that there's a space there right at Green that's safe for LGBTQ people. So thank you guys for providing this space.
Thank you, Ed, for being with us. So were you here in Green your whole childhood, and how did you end up in Long Beach?
So we moved there when I was in first grade, and so I went to Greensburg Elementary, which was in Greensburg Road at the time. They torn the building down since then, and then went to what was the junior high and high school at the time, and graduated from there. I had great memories of school learning as far as history. I think Mrs. Taylor, my history teacher, just instilled in me this love of history and just really this appreciation of history. And back for a while, I thought I would go to college and study history and become a history teacher, but that's not how it ended up working out. But I have a really good experience with learning and there at Green. It was tough. I think I felt different. I always felt different. I think it was very uncomfortable to be around my peers at the time there, so it created some things in me that were difficult for a while. And we had our reunion, our high school reunion here back in 2022. It was kind of hesitant to go, but my mom told me people change, so go, and I went, and people did change, and it was great. And I reconnected with people that I never even connected with in high school, and they become great friends. So it was excellent to reconnect with people like me.
Thanks. To the audience here, what did you find surprising? Quick note, you have to be on the microphone or we can't hear you. So this is not like church where we can call out. We do not have that microphone running. Otherwise, it gives a lot of feedback. So who would like to share something about what you found surprising in the movie? Or did you find anything that actually challenges you? Small groups are harder to get people started. I found it heartening to know that there is so much supportive documentation for this in the Bible, how it showed up. Of course it's negative, of course it's terrible that it was ever there to begin with. But I'm grateful to see that there was supportive documentation that caused the movie to be able to be made, that we can share that word with others. Anyone else feel the same? Lots of head shaking. I have asked our speakers to look toward the side camera, so hopefully, Ed, you will get a face to the words.
I found it amazing how many things I was taught back in the 80s that were incorrect. I had the Way Bible, the Reach Out Bible, the Living Bible. We were gifted these things, and it just, the first time I heard the documentary and heard you speak, it blew my mind. But I figured that watching it a second time, that made me realize how many things were really incorrect. Where I missed some things the first time through conversation and things with others. And so it's good on repeat. I think, you watch a movie more than once, you always see something you miss. But I just couldn't believe how many things were misinformation growing up. And it's kind of cool how my mom saw through that. So, yay, Mom. I had to give her a shout out.
Thank you. Any others? Any questions for Ed? Something about the movie? Something that you heard about in there? Something about the production? Because that's kind of fun, too. We have a Hollywood star in our midst. Can you turn around and face the camera behind you? If you don't mind.
As you know, probably, I'm 96 years of age, and the reason I'm making this comment is not because it's connected with anything you're saying, because I left my hearing aids at home, and I didn't really hear very much, except occasionally I could tell. What I wanted to say is, I was born in Oklahoma, southeastern Oklahoma, in 1929. That predates the nature of this movie's focus. I went all the way through high school and never heard the word homosexual. It just wasn't part of what we knew about or discussed or anything. And I'm sure that this mistranslation has had a big effect on society in general, because we do have, I think that's basically our population is at least confessing Christians, for the most part, majority part. I think they would have done it had it been in line to be spoken of. So I just thought I'd give that testimony of the fact that all of this has come to me since the days of this translation, and probably later, like the 60s, for whatever that's worth.
Are you still hearing us? It got quieter here, so I wanted to be sure. Any response to that, please?
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. That does make a lot of sense. So we've seen things happen just in the past few decades, and a lot of times we see some doubling down going on. So even when we point this out to theologians and pastors, instead of integrating with the data and saying, oh, well, we did this with God, they will come up with some conjecture or some opinion and twisting to accommodate increasing these narratives. And so we've seen even the translation of the seven translations I looked at, we see kind of doubling down on this topic as the years have progressed. So it is very sad. What makes it even more sad is that it's taking people away from Scripture to where they don't even want to go into Scripture, which is not the way it's supposed to be. So there were definitely some problems in the translation of this particular topic and the subject and these verses. But the interesting thing is when we really get into the verses that we're really trying to say, which is not something like this, then wow, we're seeing a really good message there. I think God was trying to communicate to us. And so when it's been twisted or diverted to this homophobic mentality, and we don't see what's really in there all along, we're missing out on so much of Scripture, so much of God's message to us. So I just want to encourage people, we need to continue to ask questions and we learn and grow. That's what strengthens our faith, but not to dishearten by things that happen when human beings have been involved in this message from God. So God's perfect, we're not, and we're the ones who's responsible for transmitting this message over the past 2,000 years, and we as humans can make mistakes. And so we need to make sure that we're really looking to see who is Jesus and what is his message, and are maybe there's something else that we're misunderstanding, but not to go and technically for every single verse, but to go into open mind, a learned heart, that can passages, not just the other passages, but the whole Bible, and then the historical context of which it was written, and the message that's being carried.
Any other comments or questions? No sound? I was playing with the on-off button when I was time off. I apologize. Here you go. Let's try again.
With our current administration, I didn't know if there was anybody politically, or teachers, or a mayor, or somebody to get their hands on this information to make it available. I know there's a lot of students that gave to the project and things like that through different teachers that probably made that available. But it just seems to me like more people need to know. And I didn't know if there was any kind of public platform or any kind of political platform or somebody that would, embrace it.
There is not that I'm aware of, but I mean, you could always be the first to get it to go in that direction. That would be great. I think the grassroots campaign mentality is probably going to really help to get the word out there as you guys in your own town, there at Greensburg, can go around and meet people from other churches, other places, pastors, neighbors, and have conversations that maybe it's going to end up helping someone when you pass the word along.
I recently listened to a podcast with Rocky in it, and Rocky was talking about how we should not disconnect ourselves from people on the other side of the aisle for this conversation, people who don't see the same way we do. Because if we do that, then we are isolating ourselves, but we're also isolating them away from this message. And we should stay in connection, we should stay in community as best as we can, like obviously not if it's hurtful, obviously not if somebody is abusive towards you in one way or another. But they will never hear something different if we don't stay in connection with them. And in this particular case, I believe she shared that family members watched the movie on Thanksgiving together. It wasn't a big conversation. It wasn't a big, like everybody agrees now, but it was one step, and it's a baby step. And that's where we have to start. We start with baby steps. Anyone else? I thought there was somebody over here. No? So on this conversation then, Ed, anti-LGBTQ legislation is moving at a rapid pace, and it's pretty much impossible for us to keep up with all of what's going on. Have you encountered negativity based on your participation in the project?
Oh, yeah, all the time. So I get lots of emails and a lot of people that are very upset about what I'm doing. I can tell you there was a situation in the past. So, only a few years ago, actually like year and a half when the movie came out officially, all we had was a 3-minute movie trailer at the time just to let people know it was going to be coming. And Rocky put together some things from the footage that she had to create a trailer, a 3-minute movie trailer. And someone, I think it's a pastor, I can't remember what his book is, I don't think it's going to see, but I can't remember. Anyway, he wrote an entire book against the movie based upon a 3-minute trailer. So we see antagonism in that sort of situation. I see a lot of lack of integrity. The fact that we really hold integrity and you're basing an entire book on a 3-minute movie trailer, you haven't even seen the whole movie. And the movie's only 89 minutes. It cannot contain all the information or research. Obviously, there's not enough space in any movie or even in theory to contain as much information as we put together and as many pieces to this large puzzle. So we also saw, we had all kinds of pushback against the movie, pastors who wrote articles against it, there are lots of YouTube videos, there are some pieces that some podcasts that people, churches, and so forth have put out. And so what I noticed though is their response seems really sloppy. It does not contain or deal with facts and the data at hand. It's more emotional and remember when we were still in research phase. I'm probably in research phase for the rest of my life, quite honestly. But Kathy had the archives from Yale with microfilm materials to be transferred to Nevada, where she lived near Reno, so she could go to the university and she could do university to university transfer. So she was able to look into them more deeply. So we did a lot of work over there, and she wanted to do a few months more work. So she had these microfilms transferred. And so she wrote an article about it, put it out there, she still had the pieces there for Reno. And somebody came against us in the article and said, these guys are lying about all this. I was in jail last week, and I looked at these archives, not what they say. And we were like, that's funny, because you were in jail last week, and you looked at the archives last week, the archives have been in jail for 2 months. So you did in another state. So people just say things. And it's just been annoying. And that's what I was going to tell you. Can we just connect with this stuff? Can we have a conversation? Can we have a dialogue with them? But please, let's take this out.
So, along with that, can you share the reach and the impact of the film?
Yes, it's been excellent, and a great opportunity to see the message get out all over the world. I know I shared with you guys something that happened in the family there, I was in church last time. And I had, this past October, November, I was actually in Hong Kong, Thailand, and Taiwan. So we took the movie over there, we met with some people. So I've been getting messages all day today to make sure my friends in Thailand decided to fly in from Rome so that we could do some research, because early in the trip, there's got to be some research to do. Hopefully, we can go places to see his archives. That would be wonderful. I don't know what happens, but at any rate, yeah, we're going to make the research through that as much as we possibly can. She's getting here in July.
That's really exciting. Thank you for sharing that with us. And how many languages have subtitles been translated into, do you know? Or last you heard?
I'm going to guess around 8 or 10. So there's still more languages that are coming, but around 8 or 10. So we're supposed to be going to Japan and Korea in the next few months. So we're going to work on stuff for that. Finalize. I've got a group of Japanese students coming over in 2 weeks. I think about 2 weeks we're going to watch this rough draft that we have in the Japanese language to see if there are some changes that we can make before pursuing the next step. So, yeah.
That's really exciting. It's not like you don't have enough going on. You sound pretty busy. I wanted to share a moment about the, he was saying that people find the research, they look online. That's where he found that Yale had the archives and whatnot. A circle moment for Harmony Springs Christian Church here is that when I first came here, I've been here for 8 years now, but 7 years ago, they asked me to do a study on LGBTQ+, in order to sort of get the church started toward the path that landed us where we are now. And so, the first week was all about definitions, because there's a lot of them out there, and now there's probably 3 times as many as there were, 6, 7 years ago. Definitions and titles and, bisexual and so on. Anyway, so in looking up the words and the clobber passages myself, I'll be honest, I didn't read a lot of books, but I did a lot of online research before that. And I found an article at some point that mentioned that there were some archives at Yale, and that this is what came of it. And when I first heard about Ed and the movie, because someone in our congregation knows him and told him that we were going to be showing the movie, and that's when he decided he really, really wanted to be part of that. But I went through my files from way back when, and I found Canyon Walker Connections article with a picture of Ed and Kathy on it. Canyon Walker Connections is Kathy's website, and where she has a lot of information. So if that's something you'd like to look into, that'd be kind of fun. But that's one of our circle moments. And when I found out that Ed was, oh gosh, look at that, there's Ed right there. And he and I had already been on the phone talking about his visit. And so that was just really neat. So for you, Ed, can you share something that has been most impactful for you in being part of this project?
So definitely the most impactful part is to see a difference that it makes in the lives of people from all over the world. To see the life-giving that it provides, to give churches some information, to have this discussion, to take it to the next level. So non-affirming people have plenty of churches to go to, but LGBT people don't have as many options. So that's why I'm so thankful for churches like you guys, Harmony Springs, to be able to provide a space for people to come to. It's been exciting to meet people. We met government dignitaries from several countries who are very interested in our work and what we're doing to help them. Another interesting thing, I don't think I shared this last time I was there. So one of the things we were hoping that eventually would happen is that Kathy and I could have conversations with people and translations as new translations are coming out and so forth. And about 2.5 years ago, I want to say, maybe 3 years ago, I got contacted by people in Norway because they were producing a new translation, a new Norwegian translation. And they said they heard about our work, they didn't want to say twice.
Wow.
They got to complicated. And so I was able to kind of interact with them and disseminate some information, and then utilizing the translations or working to go from Greek to Norwegian in the new translation coming out. So that's what I really look for, is that we can make a difference throughout the world in translations as they come out, so we don't make the same mistake again, that pastors are equipped with the proper information, accurate information, not to deal with this. A lot of churches I see, they're just kind of getting to a point where like, well, we don't want to give that topic out because we don't know what to do with it. So, that's it's not the best response to have. So people have to do with it, whether we want to or not. Our generation, our century that we're
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So this is our time, you guys, and we're called to this time. And God purposely put us on the planet at this time so that we could integrate into this. And so it's up to us to make a difference for these kids growing up. It can be in a better world, but we can be more loving and show the true love of Jesus. So I think it's been really exciting to be a part of that. Through helping families that are trying to deal with splits that have taken place because of this topic, churches that have had splits because of this topic, denominations that have had splits because of this topic, and to be there with accurate, good information to kind of say, hey, let's do it. And again, I encourage a dialogue, not an argument, a dialogue, conversation. And that, in my opinion, is the best way to go about it and interact. And I always know there's more I need to learn, and I'm willing to hear anybody wants to talk about this. But people get into the arguments of brutality. I really don't like to interact with that. But I do enjoy good conversations and good dialogue. I'm not looking for a gotcha moment with people, and I don't like necessarily people who think they got a gotcha moment with me. For the last few years, they have a hard time doing that, even though they try. But I like to integrate that into the conversation. And I think it's important. I think if we talk about it more, and people start to understand it more, I think we're going to see the world change. And it's going to get better. And that's what we want to tell these kids growing up. It's going to get better. Just hang in there.
As we heard in the movie, as long as we're still talking, there is hope. As long as we're still arguing, there is hope. And as long as we're still communicating, there is hope. I heard this week that there are many people despairing around the country right now for a lot of different reasons. And the opposite of despair is hope. And if we can find that hope, and of course, as Christians, our hope rests in Jesus. But as long as we can find that hope, then I got distracted by someone coming. ADHD on the line. So you have something you'd like to share, please?
Okay. So, Ed, a few days ago, I was in a little shop in Massillon, Ohio, whereby the store owner brought to my attention that the oldest, most complete Bible is an Ethiopian Bible in a little bit older language than Greek and Hebrew. Have you had the opportunity to compare any of your research with the Ethiopian Bible in that language, or do you have any interest in doing so?
I'm familiar with the one that you're talking about, and I think it comes down to people's definition of the Bible, because we've got manuscripts that are much older than that Ethiopian. So different manuscripts. So we have, like, for example, the book of Romans might be one manuscript, or sections of Romans might be here, Ephesians, Isaiah, and so forth. But the Bible was brought together as one unit, so about 297 AD. So we have that one situation. So someone who first had to the definition of the Bible. But we have the original language of Greek and Hebrew, which predates the Ethiopian Bible. And as far as what we have, the oldest complete Greek Bible that we have is about 330 AD. And the Ethiopian Bible may be older than that, but they both pull from the same Greek that it says.
Okay.
So I'm not in agreement with that. Ethiopian is very good. It was not obvious. It's painful. So. But anyway, I am familiar with in that book. I haven't done the deep of the Bible map, but I want to do it with people who specialize in that language. I think I have a meeting coming up in a couple of weeks with someone who does specialize in a couple of ancient languages. We're going to be talking about this there too. But it's kind of great to be like a lightning rod because I'm able to attract people who are interested in this topic from all over the world. And I find them, they find me, and we can continue to interact on that. But good question on that. So it is an ancient book. Another thing to keep in mind is that by 500 AD, the Bible was reduced from multiple languages down to one language, which was the Latin Vulgate. For the next 1,000 years, about 500 AD to 1500 AD, the 8th century, the Bible was only being found in the Latin Vulgate. So we didn't use the Greek or Hebrew. And that's a great recommendation. And hey, I think it's Latin. It's not accurate. Let's go back to the Greek. And then you went to the Greek and they said, hey, we did it in our own language and we translated it into English, German, Spanish, French, etc. So that was what the Great Reformation was all about. So I think when we look at the situation there, it's quite interesting. Before the Latin Vulgate, in approximately the 6th century, 400 or 500 Ethiopian is very well, and we appreciate that. But what's good to see is when these different languages in the first 3, 4, 500 years after Christ, how do these different languages deal with the problem? It's a big question I've had for years. So, and that's what I'd like to see when you ask me what we'd like to do for the next 50 part 2. And that's what would be great, is to see all of these Bible or portions of Bible manuscripts that predate 330 AD, the Codex Vaticanus that we have, the Codex Sinaiticus that we have, the same time period, and the Bible. So we could go back to all of the pieces that we have important together or translated. Now they deal with these other passages. What would we have no problem with? These manuscripts are always in the various libraries around the world museum. And it takes a special scholar to understand those ancient languages. So if we look at Old English from 1,000 years ago, we have our time speaking. And we go 300 years before that. How do we not understand it? Really did 2,000 words ago. And so think about 2,000 years ago, when we were in time, and the challenges involved therein. But I think that we have scholars throughout the world. So if you really work with the village to kind of go to this next level, I think we're going to find information that can help really get a bigger, more accurate picture. I think we've got enough information as it is, and we've got the whole thing very confident to understand what makes sense and what doesn't, so that we're not harming people by producing a message that is causing and has caused damage. So I think we can utilize the Bible that we have right now as we are given more information that really helps bring more solidified opportunities to understanding it. And I think that was really good at.
So, following that up, when you reach the Vatican in Rome and sit in the library there to do some research, what kind of resources are you hoping to find and connect with there? Yeah.
Yeah, look, you can't get into Rome's Vatican Library and you'll probably see like second plans of all the things like that. Nothing in my head when I say that it's just being sarcastic and but I also have to say that a team of scholars that specialize in other languages. A lot of what we have in Latin is going to be more, 500 AD to 1500 AD. So they probably have pieces that are older than that. But at any rate, we're going to be looking around for different things that we can find. You can't be like always find some research-worthy material whenever we go. But it would be wonderful if we really did that. Anybody knows the conversation?
We'll let you know. You should try to get an appointment with the Pope himself. And he needs to hear about the movie as well. Given all the information and all the research that you've done, are you a writer? Do you have a book that's on your mind that you might come out with?
Writing a co-authoring a book, and there was so much material that needed to go into it. So we made a decision to split it into 2 books. Her book is going to be coming out. She's still been working on it, all the edits, company, lots of people are kind of involved in all of that. And then what mine to do is kind of a part 2. So Kathy does an amazing job, as you can tell, specializing in history, culture, various sciences that she's integrating into there. And then my part is more on the theological realm of things. And so kind of a 1-2 punch, so to speak. So people who are more theologically inclined probably want to lean toward mine. People who really want to integrate, I think you really need both: the history, the context, the culture, the theology, the language, the Greek, etc. Everything pretty much needed to be involved, and lots of different disciplines. So we need to understand various types of science to do this, and it involves a lot of understanding psychology. Information we have today that we didn't have available 20 years ago, much less 2,000 years ago. So as we know better, do we do better? We have to ask ourselves that as we dig in more deeply, fervently, and honestly, and full of integrity. I think all of that's very important to do. So
And is that the one that I heard of, forging a sacred weapon, how the Bible became anti-gay? Okay. And is there a time, you said no timeline on that quite yet? Well, that's really soon. Excellent. We'll keep our eyes open for it. Other questions or comments from the group? Any last words you'd like to share, Ed?
I would just like to say thank you guys so much for coming. It's just awesome to think that you guys have a group where they're right to turn green. So this is very exciting. So thank you so much. And I noticed the people in the audience have short sleeve shirts on. It makes me so excited to think that Ohio for short sleeves up. Because springtime in Ohio is wonderful, especially after the snow that we used to have.
Well, we got lucky. It was a 70-degree day today. Yeah, a little extra warm. I know a lot of people got outside and were working in the yards. Well, let's give Ed another thank you so much for being here. Your work has unlimited reach. Unlimited reach. We will do our best in our small pockets of life to share it around where we are. And with what you keep doing, it'll go further and further. And little by little, baby steps, we will make the changes necessary to one day see full inclusion, full love between people everywhere. Thank you so much.